Now, to take a look at what's grabbing international headlines, and for that I'm joined again by Clément Bonero. Hi, Clément. And we start, unsurprisingly, with Trump's official visit to France. American newspapers swooning over what they perceive to be a budding romance between Macron and Trump.
That's right. The relationship between Emmanuel Macron and Donald Trump may have got off to a rocky start earlier this year. You probably remember their rather brutal handshake in May when they first met in Brussels. But now they've become best buddies, touching each other's arms, smiling and laughing. The Washington Post says that's because the two leaders actually have a lot in common. Both are political outsiders hoping to shake up the establishment. Both have promised to roll back regulations. And last but not least, both seem to enjoy the opulence of places such as the Invalides, the Palace of Versailles, and in Trump's case, the White House.
But some papers have been quite critical of Macron's attempt to forge an alliance with Trump, haven't they?
That's right. The Guardian calls it an unlikely alliance between Emmanuel Macron and Donald Trump and accuses the French president of being a great opportunist. The British newspaper says this new alliance between France and the US is bad news for the UK and its own so-called special relationship with Washington. The danger is that as Trump warms to Macron's charm and energy, he may find the British, who are still very much divided over Brexit, comparatively less appealing. Still, The Guardian, though, says that this new development provides a key lesson for the UK that respect and alliances with America need not necessarily be built through submission.
All right, moving on now to the death of Liu Xiaobo, who was one of China's most prominent human rights advocates. He died of cancer in prison, aged just 61.
That's right, and tributes have been pouring in. One of the most moving articles can be found in the New York Times. Liu Xiaobo, we miss you. The author calls the Chinese activist the Mandela of our age, one of the great figures of modern times. Swiss paper Le Temps pays an equally moving tribute to Liu Xiaobo and calls on the international community to put pressure on China now to stop crushing dissent and release other political opponents. Le Temps warns that Liu Xiaobo's death is a disaster for human rights activists in China and an indelible stain on China's reputation. And I also wanted to show you this cartoon from Le Monde. You see here Liu Xiaobo curling up in a corner of his prison cell in the dark, and someone slipping his Nobel Peace Prize medal under the door, a rather meagre consolation for the Chinese activist.
And unsurprisingly, Chinese papers have been a little bit more reluctant to label Liu Xiaobo a hero.
That's right. Chinese papers hardly make mention of Liu Xiaobo's death this morning. There is, though, an article in the Global Times, the English version of the People's Daily, the official paper of the Chinese Communist Party. The paper says that Liu Xiaobo's cancer was, quote, politicized by the West and used to demonize China. The paper says that Liu is the only one responsible for his, quote, tragic life, and concludes rather harshly, the West has bestowed upon Liu a halo which will not linger.
Moving on now, tonight marks the first anniversary of the attempted coup in Turkey, an event that has had far-reaching repercussions, leading to the arrest of thousands of civil servants, teachers and soldiers. How are Turkish papers marking this event?
Well, I found two very different articles in the Turkish press this morning. One is from Hürriyet Daily News, Turkey's leading opposition newspaper. The author asks, did Turkey learn any lessons from the July 15 coup attempt? And the answer is, according to the author, no. Turkey is now more divided than ever, the author writes, and there has been an unprecedented crackdown on the media and the opposition. Turkey, he writes, performs poorer than ever in the field of democracy, rule of law and human rights. Daily Sabah, a pro-government newspaper, of course, disagrees, calling the response to the attempted coup by the people a great national epic, one that has reinvigorated Turkey's democracy and institutions, getting rid of traitors and terrorists, including members of the movement led by the exiled cleric Fethullah Gulen, who's been accused of being behind the coup attempt.
And is there any hope for Turkey's opposition?
Well, of course, this anniversary comes as Turkey's opposition has been re-energised by the success of a month-long march for justice led by the CHP opposition party, with an estimated crowd of 1.5 million people gathering in Istanbul last weekend. You can see a picture of that meeting there. The Guardian says this has given hope to millions of young Turks and could pave the way to a strong and coherent opposition to Recep Tayyip Erdogan.
Clement Bonneron with a look through the international papers. Thank you very much.